All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Sunday, December 31st. Happy New Year's Eve to everyone out there. We got 6 games on today's NBA slate. We're going to dive into each and every one of these games like we always do. I'm going to give you my lean on the spread. I'll give you my lean on the total. But all of my final plays, so what I'm actually rolling with myself, those will be in the pinned comment if you do want to fade those picks last night. Everything we touched in terms of a final play, 4 of them. L. Tough to see that there. We had the over in the Sixers and Bulls game. Nope. With the under in the Knicks and the in the Pacers game. Nope. With the Buddy Hield prop. Nope. And then we had Klay Thompson's first quarter points. You guessed it. Nope. So tough night following up a sweep with a reverse sweep. Only we lost more than we won in the normal sweep. So that sucks. But nonetheless, guys, we're here today to try and right the ship here. Our ride of the day also does not come through here. Coming in from D-Dog. Cat over 1.5 threes. We just dropped the womp womp. We won't do it again, but another L of a ride of the day. We got to get back on the win train, guys. If you want a chance to be the ride of the day, all you got to use is that hashtag ride of the day like D-Dog did there. Give me an absolute banger of a pick. I'm picking one person's play in the comments, jumping on board with you, and then you get a shout out in the next video, win or loss. If we win, you cheer, we have a good time, maybe cha-ching sounds. You lose, usually we have to face the womp womp, but I womp womp myself, and I didn't want to over womp womp this video, even though I've said womp womp a million times. But nonetheless, guys, let's go ahead and dive into today's slate. We also, I don't know if you saw the challenge on my ex over on Twitter here, but we're doing a little Pistons challenge, and night one of it, they cashed. So we got the Pistons money line, plus 170 last night. I said I'm not counting it towards the win or loss record because it's more like a fun thing to do, but we're taking Pistons, money line, spread, and team total for, I think I went like 5 games or so, and just seeing where we come out on that. But it's probably going to bite me in the ass, but nonetheless, little challenge we're doing. Go follow me over on Twitter. But let's dive into game number 1 here. We got the Wizards taking on the Hawks. Wizards getting 6.5 points here at home. Total sitting at 252. You got to look at the Hawks here, right? The Wizards, obviously kind of a dumpster fire-esque team, and they're coming off of a win, an outright win against Brooklyn. I don't think that they pair that together. In fact, I can't even remember the last time they won 2 games in a row. So you have to imagine that Atlanta's going to come into town and win this one. Atlanta's a terrible home team, but they're on the road this game. So hopefully that can help them a little bit. I will say Trae Young is on the injury report. He's probable in this one with a knee injury. So obviously keep an eye on him. If that's going to be something that keeps him out, then we don't touch this game altogether. But if Trae Young plays, I could see, the Hawks being a final play here, minus the 6.5 points. I also don't mind any Hawks player props. I don't really mind any player props at all in this game, in terms of, if you're like, oh, I like Poole or Kuz or, Trae Young, DeJounte. Like, there should be a lot of points in this game and not that much defense having the Wizards and the Hawks play. So I don't mind any player props in this game, to be completely honest. The total sitting at 252.5, kind of off, what we just talked about with the player props. A lot of points, not much defense. I got to lean towards the over, even though it is such a high number, because these two teams looking at an under probably is a silly thing to look at. The last time they played, Wizards really didn't even bring their stuff. Like, they only scored 108 on a Hawks defense that should be letting up, 115 plus. That was still a decently high scoring game, 136 to 108. So if the Hawks kind of stay right where they were and the Wizards just score a few more points, we are looking at what could be an over in this spot. So keep an eye on the pinned comment, see if anything from this game makes its way into being a final play. It's not the sexiest of matchups, but we shall see. Keep an eye on that pinned comment. All right, next up, we have the Thunder taking on the Nets. This spread kind of shocked me, to be completely honest. Thunder, -8 here at home. Now, that part, them being favored at home, doesn't surprise me. But 8 was a lot of points, I thought. And I'm going to trust what the books are doing here. Like, yes, these are 2 really good against the spread teams, both, independently. Brooklyn's been amazing at home against the spread this year. On the road, though, just 7 and 9 against the spread. Or 7 and 8, against the spread. Whereas we know the Thunder, top against the spread team in the entire league right now. At home here, they are, really good as well. So you kind of trust them, I guess. 12 and 5 against the spread at home. But like I said, I'm just going to trust that number. It's 8 for a reason. I thought this would be more in like the 5 range, but it's not. So if the books aren't afraid to lay that number, then why should we be afraid as well, right? This is a Thunder team that's obviously playing good basketball, coming off that huge win against Denver. They've now won 3 straight. They've won 8 of their last 10, covered in 7 of those. Like, I think we got to trust it. Thunder -8 is going to be the lean here. In terms of a total, we've seen this Thunder team score plenty of points, but the defense has been clicking right now. And this Brooklyn team, their offense has been super, super inconsistent. They just scored 104 against that Washington team. We just spent 5 minutes talking about how bad the defense is, right? So I don't really trust that Brooklyn is going to be able to consistently give us, what would they need here? 120 on their side to make this an over reality. So I'm going to slightly lean towards the under, maybe take a peek at Oklahoma City's team total, because I could see them going out there and scoring 125 plus and that type of thing. But again, I think the Thunder is probably going to be our main lean in this spot. In terms of player props, Nick Claxton is questionable right now, but I don't mind looking at his over 2.5 steals plus blocks. He's hit that in 7 straight games here. This is the Thunder team that, if you're one of those bigger guys and you kind of get into a rhythm, you can kind of own your space. Chet Holmgren isn't the most physical big. He's a good big. He'll pull you out, but Nick Claxton is pretty good at staying near the hoop and being there for backside blocks and whatnot. So I don't mind that spot. You're paying a little bit of juice, -140, but again, he's hit this in plenty of games, 73% of games this season, and like I said, in 7 straight games, and going back to 2 meetings ago, he had 4 blocks in that game. So the steals plus blocks, I don't mind. His blocks line is at 2.5 for +125. So if you like that a little bit more, he's hit that in 6 of his last 7. But having that steal in there for some reassurance could help us out. But yeah, that's what I'm gonna look at in terms of a player prop. There's tons of player props in this game as well. Cam Johnson, I also don't mind. Obviously, Shea's numbers are always really inflated, but I like a lot of matchups in this spot. So keep an eye on the pinned comment to see what we end up rolling with in this game. But I could see the Thunder, even though it's a big number, the Thunder -8 being a final play. But after last night, we don't want to try to dig out of a hole, right? We don't need to throw stuff at the wall and hope it sticks. So we got to be really smart about what we make final plays. All right, Pelicans taking on the Lakers here. Lakers coming off of an L last night. Minnesota beats them 108-106. Pelicans coming off of a win a few nights back against Utah. They won 112-105. They're 6.5-point favorites in this game, which kind of like the Thunder game shocked me a little bit. Last time these two teams played, now the Pelicans were dealing with some injuries, but the Lakers beat them 133-89. They beat the brakes off of them. So now they come in here at home, though, in terms of the Pelicans, as favorites. I guess it makes a little bit of sense. Lakers on a back-to-back, not the best back-to-backs team overall, and obviously you have to monitor this injury report with Anthony Davis and LeBron being on back-to-backs. The Lakers are just 1-5 in back-to-back against the spread this season, so I'm going to lean towards the favorite yet again here. 3 straight favorites in today's video. The Pelicans, I don't think I'm comfortable enough to make, or confident enough, I should say, to make that a final play, to be completely honest. It just seems like a spot where everyone would think that the Lakers are tired on a back-to-back, and maybe Anthony Davis and LeBron do play, maybe they don't, who knows, but it just seems like a spot where the Lakers could get them. You know what I mean? Like, it just seems like it's too many points. We're not talking about a 2.5, 3.5 point spread here. We're talking about the Pelicans having to win by 7 for this to cash. So though it's my lean, I think it stays as a lean if I'm being completely honest here. In terms of the total, 230.5, it is a number that is up there. You have a tale of 2 teams right now. So the Lakers cashing overs. They've hit the over to this mark in 7 of their last 10 games here, whereas the Pelicans have only hit over this mark in 3 of their last 10. So if I think the Pelicans kind of control the game and the game script, I'm going to lean towards the under here because I think that they're more of an under team than this Lakers team as of late for sure. They've also cashed more unders on the season than overs, whereas the Lakers have kind of been up and down. So give me the under 230.5 in this spot. That has a chance to be a final play because, again, that's my way of saying that I think the Pelicans own this game. They don't necessarily have to win by 7 points by taking the spread, but if this is an under, I think the Pelicans are the ones that get the job done here because they'll slow down the pace and all that type of stuff. Player props. There's one that I looked at here and I really don't mind it. Zion over 6.5 boards. He's hit it in 5 of his last 6 games, getting a crazy amount of rebound chances. The one caveat and the thing that I'll pump the brakes on here is that this is a Lakers team that allows plenty of rebounds. Bottom 10 in the league in terms of, rebounds against. But to power forwards, they're allowing the fewest rebounds per game to power forwards. Zion Williamson, power forward. So there is a little bit of a, caveat there in the sense of the team lets up tons of rebounds, but to his position, it's not the best matchup, but I still don't mind. I just don't mind it overall. Again, He's getting tons of chances. He's hit in 5 of his last 6, and he's getting 8, 11, 10. Like, he's had he's had 3 double-digit rebound games in his last out of his last 6 games. So it's not like, you know, he's sitting there a normal power forward or schmuck. This is a guy that we know how physical he is and all that type of stuff. And again, rebound chances, nearly averaging 13 rebound chances per game over his last 10. If you know what I like to do, I take that rebound chance number, cut it in half, which would be 7 or 6.5, and it's right there on that number. So I don't mind it. I just don't love the matchup, but still something worth considering. At Spurs taking on the Celtics here. Celtics big favorites on the road here. I think it's too many points to be giving, so I'm going to lean towards the Spurs here. I don't think that makes its way into the final plays because I don't like putting my money on the Spurs. We did it one time and somehow they cashed for us, and I was like, whoop, I'm out. I'm not doing that again because it was way too much of a sweat. But 13.5 points just seems like a little bit too much. Celtics haven't won by 14 or more points in 3 straight games here, whereas the Spurs have actually covered this number in 10 straight games. As to like what if they had that spread in their last 10 games, they would cover that number, which is pretty impressive because they've been playing some decent teams. Like they covered against Milwaukee, they got blown out, but they had a high number just like this, 16.5. This is 13.5, but they lose to Milwaukee 132 to 119, essentially getting blown out, right? But still cover their number. I could see that being a similar spot here overall, because when the Spurs get these huge numbers, again, I just told you, if they had this number in their last 10 here, they'd cover in 7 of their last 10 and 3 straight. So does it make its way into the final plays? No, but I don't know if I confidently look at the Celtics team and say, go win by 13.5, 14 points, because look at their last few games here. Last couple, actually, I should say, as a good example. Detroit, they were 17-point favorites. They had to go to overtime to win that game. And I'm a Celtics fan. I love the Celtics. I'm not trying to rag on them, but I'm saying that, there's a difference between winning games, being a good team, and looking at their against the spread numbers. They're 25-6 this season. That's crazy, right? Just 15, 14, and 2 against the spread. So they're not. They make a lot of games closer than they need to be. Which, is this the case tonight? Maybe not. The Spurs aren't all that great. We know, but I do think that is a number that I'm just not willing to touch. You also have a couple major things here. Jason Tatum on the injury report, Kristaps Porzingis on the injury report, Jrue Holiday on the injury report, either probable or questionable for all of those guys. Victor Wembanyama is questionable here as well, so that's probably a big thing to note. But nonetheless, just too many points for me here. In terms of a total, though, I don't mind looking at the over, just due to what we've seen from the Celtics offensively. So again, forget that they're a good defense, but forget that for a second. If we can almost count on them to score 125, which they've been doing, like literally their last 10 here, 120, 116, 128, 114. It's like, okay, that's even what we're asking for. But then in their last 6, 126, 144, 145, 126, 128, 120. Like they're scoring a lot of points right now, right? This is a team that if they can go out there and, like I'm saying, score 125, which they should be able to do against a pretty bad Spurs defense, and all we have to ask for is for the Spurs to stay somewhat remotely in the game, we're looking at it over. I don't mind it. Now, a lot of big numbers on the slate today, 241 being one of them, but I don't think that we should be afraid of that. I'll also say one thing to note on the Celtics or on the total spread here is that if it's moving up, then that's great. If it's moving down, I still like the over. So keep an eye, get that best line up there, because I've seen, now we have 241 here, but I've seen 241.5, which that would give you the sense that it's moving up and the books are afraid of the overs, right? Then a couple sports books have come to 240.5, which is now a half point lower. So the sports books aren't really decided here. There could be some opportunity to wait it out and get the best line possible. Player props, I'm not really considering anything in this game because of blowout potential. You see a 13.5 point spread, and Tatum, Kristaps, and Jrue Holiday all on the injury report. Jaylen Brown maybe the only Celtic, or Derek White, I guess, only Celtic that you can look at. Derek White's probably a good look because he's playing his old team. But again, I don't want to touch anything. I know these Celtics players are good enough that even if they play an abbreviated amount of minutes, they can cash some overs, Derek White being one of those guys. But it just doesn't, it's not the most comfortable or confident spot. And same thing for the Spurs. Even if it's a blowout, like those guys won't play as long. So it doesn't just have to be the leading team, right? So I'll stick away from player props in this game. All right, guys, I just talked about finding the best line and the best odds out there, right? Well, OddsJam is literally, that's what they do. That is what this platform does. It's an amazing tool. You can get 7 days free with the link in the pinned comment, and you get 25% off your first month. They have so much over there. They have a fantasy optimizer for prize picks and, all those apps out there. They also have the positive EV tool, which is great identifying those mispriced lines in the market. They have a sportsbook screen that you can compare any play to pretty much every single sportsbook in the entire world, so you know the price you're getting. I always tell you, why would you buy a car for 15 grand if you could walk down the street and get it for 10, right? It's the same thing with sportsbooks lines. And they also have an arbitrage screen, which is absolutely killer. If you don't know what arbitrage betting is, I made a video of it on the channel here. Arbitrage, you could take both sides of a bet. So, look at the Celtics, right? You could take Celtics minus 13.5 on one book, and then the Spurs plus 13.5 on another sportsbook. And no matter the outcome, you can win money if those odds have a big enough discrepancy. So go check out OddsJam, guys. Again, you could try it free and also get 25% off if you use the code GuyBoston and the link below. Go ahead and check it out. Now let's go ahead and get back to the slate. All right, Suns taking on the Magic here. This one's interesting because we've had a couple weird spreads so far in today's video, right? And I think the square spot in the public play would be looking at the Magic +6, right? Like, this is a good Magic team, an underrated team, yada, yada, yada. They won 3 of the last 4. But it's a little interesting to note that they're on a West Coast trip now. Phoenix is at home. Phoenix now has 2 wins in a row, 2 decent wins too. Like, they beat Charlotte 133-119, didn't cover the spread because it was 15.5, but still beat them pretty bad, right? So it's like, they're sitting here at 6-point favorites. Nobody really likes the Suns in the sports betting or even just NBA world right now, right? Everyone likes the Magic because of, rightfully so. The Magic have been a good against the spread team, overall this season, right? They're 21-10 against the spread. So sure, I can see why someone would like it, but it seems like that might be the public spot today. So yeah, I'm going to lean towards the Suns here, laying the points, taking the favorite, I guess. And I think that, this is a good spot for them to continue to build momentum. Again, this is the first game of a long West Coast trip for Orlando, and they have some look-ahead spots here. They literally have a gauntlet. They're playing Phoenix, and then in 2 days, they play Golden State, and then a back-to-back after that, they play Sacramento, and then they have a day in between, and then they play Denver. Like, this Orlando team has a trip coming up, and this game may be the least of their concerns out of the 4 that we mentioned now. So yeah, give me Phoenix here minus the 6. I'm not trying to say that they're getting something going, but 2 wins in a row, for what it's worth. I think that that's, 2 wins that are greater than 6 points, too. I think that that's worth noting here. From a player prop perspective, I really like how hot Franz Wagner's been. He's hit his points line, his points and rebounds line. The guy's been killing it over the last 5 games. Now, this is where, and I know I'm throwing a lot at you guys being like, I like this, but also there's a caveat. Another caveat here would be that, Franz Wagner starts at the small forward, starts at the shooting guard position, start the small forward position, but you could make the argument that he plays 2 for them, especially when they have, their big lineup in. So the caveat is that the Suns cover the small forward position super well, like one of the best teams in the league to cover the small forward position, no matter if you're looking at points against, rebounds against, assists against, okay? But the shooting guard position, they cover very, very poorly. So it's like, where are you going to place him? I think we go with his natural position and say small forward, and that probably ends up ultimately keeping us off of this pick. But he's been crushing it. You can look at his PRA line, you could look at his points and rebounds line. His rebound line really altogether, like his line at the beginning of the year was 3.5. It's moved up to 5.5 now, and he still hit that in 7 of his last 10 games. So that's the guy that's getting a ton of boards. And that's why I say we have to kind of justify him as a small forward, because that is what he is. So I don't mind looking at his points and rebounds. Again, he's hit that. He's been crushing it. But the matchup could be a little weirier and worrisome, I guess, in my opinion. Another spot would be Jusuf Nurkic, looking at his rebounds and assist line. So he's hit this in 4 of his last 5 games here. And you're thinking, okay, well, this Magic team is big, but they're not like bulky, if that makes sense. Like, Wendell Carter Jr.'s got the strength, and I understand that. Believe he's a game time decision too, but this is the type of team Nurkic could kind of go in and bully ball. Like, this is a really tall and long Magic team. It's not a big, broad-shouldered, burly man type team like Jusuf Nurkic is. So I don't mind his over in rebounds and assists. It's 13.5 right now. It's a little high, we know that, but he is a big guy, and we've seen him obviously have huge games. The guy's averaging 23 rebound chances per game, so he could do this on rebounds alone, which is kind of where the line says that anyways, right? His assists line is only hovering at like 2.5 right now, so it's like, if he gets a couple assists, that helps. But I think that he could. I think that how long the Magic are, if he gets it down low, he could kick it out a couple times. So yeah, I like his rebounds and assist line. That has a chance to be a final play. I don't really have concerns about the matchup there, like I do with the Wagner spot. Now, in terms of the total, 230. This Phoenix team, I have to trust the offense, I guess, because like if I'm giving them credit, and hear me out, if I'm giving them credit for their last 2 wins, I got to give them credit for how they're winning it, right? 129, 133, not playing the greatest of defenses, performances here. And Orlando is still, like, their defense has kind of, I don't want to say is shot right now because they're still like playing decent defense, but this defense is not what it was at the beginning of the year. Now, I do think that injuries have something to do with that, and I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of return to norm, right? But this defense here is allowing pretty much league average in terms of points per game, and then field goal percentage against. That's what they're still good at, but it's like it's not really a world-beating defense. So Phoenix can continue their offensive success and again continue only using a 2-game sample size, then I think I like over 230, because if I like Phoenix to win this game, I think that they push the tempo. All right, next up, we have Memphis taking on the Kings, and we're looking at the underdog here, the Kings. There's something a little fishy about this line. Could be a potential trap. We've seen this bounce back and forth for, the all morning. So essentially, this is a pick 'em. I've already seen Sacramento favored on some books, and now obviously Memphis favored on most right now, but I wouldn't be surprised if that flips by the time you're even watching this, right? So essentially a pick 'em here, and I like Sacramento on the money line. They're a better team than Memphis. Now, Memphis is a game changer type, or Ja Morant is a game changer type of player, and he's been good for them. They're beating the teams they should beat, but they're still kind of losing to these good teams. Like the Clippers beat them, Denver beats them, right? Like Ja Morant isn't the biggest, isn't like a difference maker at the level of being able to beat the good teams with the team on his back, right? He can do everything he can, but even against the Clippers, he had like 18 points. His plus minus was the worst in games that he's been in. So my point here is that Sacramento, I'm putting in that good team category, to be honest. So if this is a good team, I think Memphis could struggle with it. Now Sacramento, I would say, in their last 10 games, they've started to look human, right? Like they've had their struggles, but that's a team that's also beating some of these good teams, making a game of the good games. Like I think Sacramento is a good team. What are they? They're like 4th or 5th in the West, 5th right now in the West, and they're on a little bit of a slide. So, maybe I'm crazy fine. Sound the cycle alert alarm for me categorizing them in that top tier type team. But I think that's the type of team that Memphis struggles against. So give me Sacramento here. Total sitting at 235.5. If Sacramento's going to win this game, it's because they go out there and score. They're not going to lock up defensively. So I'll go with lean towards the over as well. One player prop that I really don't mind is going to be De'Aaron Fox over 5.5 assists. So not that the matchup is crazy. Memphis is middle of the road in terms of assists allowed to opposing point guards, but Fox's assist line has been at 6.5 plenty of times this year. And when a player hasn't been performing like that, like he hadn't really been cashing that 6.5 whatsoever. He'd only hit that in less than half of his games this season. They've dropped his line back down to which it was towards the beginning of the year, back down to 5.5. And I think that's a buy low type of a spot. So I don't mind this. Last time he played Memphis, he had 10 assists last year. So, you don't want to put too much weight into that, but I don't mind looking at his over 5.5 assists. I do think that him and Ja could be like talk about the speed and everything like that. This could be a matchup of a really cool matchup to watch. So I don't mind looking at Ja's steal as well as De'Aaron Fox's steals either, because I think they're going to be hounding each other here. And again, that kind of leads into De'Aaron Fox. I think he's going to pass the ball a decent amount because Ja Morant, decent defender. I know they say the Grizzlies play better defense when he's not there, but he can be tenacious if he wants to. And I think having a matchup like Fox, these guys going head-to-head, you could see a lot of action, a lot of clumsiness and whatnot, because both these guys are so quick and so fast that there could be a lot of turnovers. So, yeah, I guess now that I even say that out loud, I don't know what the lines are. I don't have those prepared, but looking at their turnover lines and steals lines on both sides there as well. So, guys, it's going to wrap it up for today's show. Again, happy New Year's Eve to everyone. Stay safe out there and have a great time. And hopefully we can bring some of this good momentum into, well, not last night. Last night we can leave at the door, the 0-4 night. But hopefully we can bring some good momentum into 2024 because, yeah, we've been on a nice little streak, even with the 0-4 night. And we should have a recap for December and year to date with our plays in the next video as well. Also, let me know by dropping a 23 in the comments that you made it this far. That means a hell of a lot. You're part of the Fade Squad if you do that. You're not a guppy. You're not a damn guppy. You guys see what that says back there? Don't be a guppy. But guys, we'll catch you in the next one, all right? Last video of 2023. It was a good year. Thank you guys for all the growth and support and everything like that. And yeah, on to 2024. We'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.